your thoughts on preventing, I guess, parental alienation and making sure that after this heated, divorce is finally ending and you're coming up with a parenting agreement, that it's something, again, and I'm talking about a lot of people that are listening, let's say, are not, we're not talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So it's the average person dealing with an average divorce with a lot of emotion. And with that comes parental alienation.
Yeah,
Often.
don't do that. It's just devastating. Don't do that. As tempting as it is to manipulate the situation by making your children the center of the conflict, they are collateral damage. Mm-hmm. And boy, let me tell you, you are screwing them up for the rest of their lives. What are you doing? You're making them insecure. You're making them anxious. You're making them depressed. You're making them have negative relations with the people that really love them. You're cutting them off from relationships, whether it's grandparents, aunts and uncles, people that are going to be nothing but kind and loving to your children. And I can't say it strong enough and loud enough. It's like taking a loaded gun and shooting at your kid. Nobody would do that.
Yeah.
But your words and your behavior is so damaging. You got to stop it and grow up and find another way to focus your issues with your spouse. I've seen it. I think it's such a horrible weapon. And the court system tries to put things in place. I like recommending parent coordinators. Mm-hmm. I like recommending family therapy so that you have not the court system, but an independent person with whom you work. I had a couple. They've been in divorce litigation for over a year. They have not spoken, not one word. They have 3 kids. You can't not communicate. And so I got the other side. I spoke to the attorney and I said, look, there's a really good parent coordinator. She's a therapist. She's excellent. And I can't tell, they ended up both agreeing to go. I can't tell you how everything has changed so dramatically, where there's still hostility, but mm-hmm. there's communication and things are getting accomplished and we're agreeing on schedules and we're agreeing on vacations and we're agreeing on access, and it makes a huge difference. There are so many available things for a party to do to help facilitate resolution, communication, instead of taking it out on your children.
Right.
And you've got to do it. And bottom line is you need the best counsel available because it's all about being in the right hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's everything.
I was thinking of something earlier when you were talking about trial. And I guess it could even be when you're going to arbitration or mediation, you spend a good amount of time with your lawyer who's telling you how to represent yourself in those proceedings, which is be quiet, keep a straight face, whatever it is that you're counseling them on. And that is a big part of that conversation before you go to trial or the arbitration. Can you talk a little bit about what you want to see out of your client?
The truth, right? The truth is the number one thing.
Mm-hmm. But even just sitting next to you, isn't it important?
Yeah, but experts know when you're not credible. Mm-hmm. And when they're sitting next to me and they're being asked a question, you always have to tell the truth. You know, one thing about telling the truth, you never forget the truth.
Right.
When you listen to people who lie, and then they come up with another story, and then they come up with, because they forgot the original story. So that's why that it's a lie.
Right.
So it's very important for the client to be deferential. If you represent a client, a male who's, angry and expresses it and somewhat of a bully, you better pull him back down on a seat. And so what this process has to be is respectful, deferential, and cooperative. And that's the key word. So any explosions, they don't work. Most often the clients really don't speak, the attorneys speak, but there are times when their voice needs to be heard.
Right.
and they have to have their day in court, so to speak.
Hmm.
But I spend a lot of time with my clients. For every court appearance, we go over everything. I prepare in the most complete way, and I make sure they understand what to expect when we get to court. Preparation for depositions when they're going to be examined under oath for 7 hours. And that's where I say, you gotta tell the truth.
Right. But what about even in those moments where they have to listen to the other side and you know that they're just like wanting to burst out of their seat and say that's not true, or they can't listen to all the things that are happening across the way, right? What do you say to your clients about
So
being
there's
straight?
there's a time and place for everything. You have to let the other side talk,
Right.
but you also have to be very strategic in how you respond. So what I say is write down the list, bullet point. When the other side says something, if it's not true or accurate, just bullet point. And then after their presentation, we take a break. I talk to my client and I say, give me this specific example so that we could respond back. But not just he said, she said. What proof do you have there? Do you have a text message? Do you have any communication that says just the opposite?
Right.
And so it's all about communicating. You don't want people to go, oh my God, there's so much noise, I don't want to hear them. You're far more effective if you speak in a way that's strong, direct, responsive, because you're going to lean in and listen. If you're going to start, no, I never said that, everybody's turned off already. So it's communicating is so, so important. If I want to tell my husband, who I married 39 years, something that really bugged the hell out of me, I'm going to find a way to make a joke out of it so that we dispel the kind of angry tone. Doesn't always work, but I'm going to try. Humor is a great way to bring the temperature down.
Right.
And you can say to somebody, wow, what movie are you in? Because that doesn't even remotely resemble what happened, but I'm going to have a good laugh.
Right.
So it's how you communicate. And I think that's really, really important. Makes the difference of winning and losing.
Yeah. You've represented so many famous people. The news cycle in pop culture is, you're always hearing about somebody getting a divorce, and you're always hearing about divorces happening because now there is stuff on social media. There's text messages. There's women coming out that are saying your
There's
husband slept with
AI.
me. Yes. Well, there's
AI.
that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But do you see in a lot of your divorce cases now the fact that there's so much social media involved, or women coming
Tremendous.
out of nowhere and saying, I've been with this man for years? How do you deal with that?
Tremendous. I mean, social media has its positive and it has its negative.
Right.
My clients have tracked their spouses traveling in Europe, or somebody with whom, not the immediate person, but friends who were there, showing their Instagram with the other couple there holding up a new Birkin bag, and all of a sudden information and evidence starts rolling in. And people don't realize that when you post something, you let it go, it's out there.
Yeah.
And it can have very damaging effect. I had a client who had her husband had an iPad, and on that iPad was photographs of his girlfriend and very revealing pictures. But that child that they had an iPad that was linked into the father's.
Oh.
And all of the pictures came up that the mother saw, before really the child was able to glue their eyes on it. Social media can be very dangerous. Electronics can be very dangerous. I've had clients who were the victims of recording devices sewn into their jacket, recording devices that were sewn into their briefcase, a pen that had a recording device in the car, in the bedroom, in the suitcase,
Wow.
everywhere. Now, Is it legal? Is it an offense? That's a whole nother topic. You have to be very, very careful. You can't go on your spouse's computer if it's a business computer. That's a felony offense.
Mm.
Social media is great for fun and terrible for divorce.